to the Dream 100 Show, the epicenter of influence, collaboration, and exponential growth. You're about to discover the power of relationships. Dream 100 relationships. And you're one relationship away from a totally different business and life. This is your host, Michael Tasner.
Hey there, and welcome to this week's edition of the Dream 100 Show. Today's topic is about marketing tactics that do not scale. So I always like to bring conversations that I've had to the table and talk through the conversation and then share some of the insights and takeaways and tactics, tools, next steps based on that conversation. And I've had a couple of conversations lately where we've been talking about the Done For You Dream 100 program that we have been quietly soft launching. And what's been very, very interesting with this soft launch is that I had a couple of people that have said, well, how do we do more? So with the Dream 100, you're traditionally putting together that list of roughly 100 to 120 contacts. And those three different audiences, either Dream 100 clients, customers, prospects, Dream 100 strategic partners, or the Dream 100 press. And I've been having people that have said, okay, I like the concept of 100, but how do we do it at scale? Like, how do we do 2,000 or 1,000 or 500? How do we start to automate it? How do we leverage AI at scale? How do we send 1,000 gifts out? And it's been interesting because you kind of have to walk a little bit before you run. So if you've never successfully executed the Dream 100 framework and strategy that I've been teaching you, it's tough to just go with this whole shotgun approach and try and do it times 10. So instead of 100 partners, you're going to look for 1,000. But my pushback to everyone that has been asking that particular question is why? Why do you need 500? 1,000, 200, why not 100? I said, well, isn't more better? And then we can start to automate and we can do this at scale. And I've been finding over the last couple of years that last part, at scale, with automation, is where I see one of the most unique opportunities for everyone that's listening. If you look at doing things that do not scale, you're going to put yourself in a league that is very, very different from the rest. So part of what makes the Dream 100 so successful is that it is hyper personalized. Once we've identified those 100 relationships, we learn everything and anything about the particular person on the other side. Their interests, their likes, their hobbies, their family, where they like to vacation, what they like to eat. Everything so that we can hyper personalize our marketing, our outreach, and our gifts. So look for an example. If you had 100 people and you wanted to send 100 of the exact same gift, and let's in this case use cookies. I love cookies. There's a couple of great places that have what I would argue are some of the best cookies in the world. But do you think that sending 100 cookies versus you sending 100 gifts that were slightly altered to fit the person's personality, style, or hobby would work better? I hope you would guess the latter, that if they got something in the mail that had some kind of personalization to it. Doesn't mean that it has to have their name on it or their logo, but like, hey, I put some thought into this gift. I put some effort. I put some time. I didn't just go, hit a button, put in 100 addresses, send some cookies. Now, I can tell you that sending cookies can definitely be a profitable venture, but there's a lot more to that strategy, and it's a variation of the Dream 100 and some cold calling and some cold emailing. It's a different strategy that can definitely work. But what I'm finding is that a lot of people think there's an easy button that they can just press and then multiply that by 10. Well, instead of just commenting on 100 people's social media, let's do 10,000 and let's use the exact same message. Like, what a great message to read on your account today. Look forward to connecting. And can we do that 1,000 times over? We've tested going from Dream 100 to Dream 200 or even 300. And we've started to see diminishing returns. So why would you see diminishing returns? Well, think about it. If you have a finite amount of resources by way of time and money, and now instead of having to comment on 100 people's Facebook posts a few times a week, you've now got to comment on 300 with the same amount of labor, how likely are you to actually read their comment and start to personalize it? You might glance at it, but you're going to start to get sloppy where you're going to have a copy and paste. You're going to write maybe 10 things that you can recycle over a few hundred times. This whole notion of scale it faster with automation, automate it, does not work with the Dream 100. It doesn't work because the whole premise is to make people feel like you've thought about them, that you've gotten to know them, that you've put some of the labor in to comment on their social media, get them onto your podcast, send 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 personalized gifts over 6+ months. It's that doing things that do not scale puts you in a completely different league from the rest. So if you know that that person is now also getting invited to be on a lot of podcasts, hey, I'd love to feature you, and the messaging is similar, and they're starting to just put that stuff into a tool like Instantly and do some cold email and just kind of see what sticks, how do you separate yourself from the pack? You have a hyper-personalized email. You have a hyper-personalized gift. Someone asked me on another one of the calls, well, what about these places like sendoutcards.com? I have an account on SendOutCards. I've used SendOutCards. But where I've used it is after the sale. What do you mean? I've used SendOutCards to show someone after the sale that I'm still there, I still care, but I put them into a sequence where it looks like my handwriting on the card, but it's really not. Well, isn't that doing exactly what you just told us not to? There's a slight difference, and the slight difference is that they're still getting interesting stuff, but they've decided to buy as a result of me doing and going above and beyond initially. That doesn't mean that every single thing that I send after they're a customer has to be 150% personalized. What we found is that after they're a customer, as long as we don't let them down, you have that whole buyer's remorse. So you finally convert them over to a Dream 100 relationship. You move them over that hump. Okay, great. They got to know you a little bit. Now they're doing some business with you, whether it's a referral relationship, a client, media, etc. If you then ignore them, which is what a lot of people do, is they become a customer. Great. Now let's move on to the next one, and you're just only focused on getting more. You ignore those people. It does the opposite. But we have tested then putting all of our customers into that sequence where they're getting a greeting card from us once a month. One of our favorite automation methods is to send a card once a month with a charcuterie board and to give them the charcuterie board with their logo on it at the beginning. And then every month they get a fun design from us. And they don't write us and say, well, Michael, this wasn't personalized. Like, you didn't put any time or energy into this. They like the cards. They know that they're automated, that they're going out once a month. But we're continuing to stay top of mind. But what you can't do is execute that kind of stuff at a ridiculous quantity or a ridiculous scale before you have gotten to know these people and move them into a relationship. That's why we're constantly doing things that don't scale. For example, yesterday I sent 4 different what I call shock and awe kits. Copies of my book, articles that I've written for Forbes, Entrepreneur, a whole bunch of stuff. I hand wrote the card that went in the front with a personalized message. I hand signed each of the books with a personalized message and a date. I hand wrote Post-it notes that said, check out my Forbes articles, check out my Entrepreneur articles. And you would say, well, Michael, why don't you want to have an admin do that? Think about it. If I'm trying to warm up that relationship, they're going to know, is it a male's handwriting, which is mine is sloppy, versus a female's handwriting. I can tell male versus female handwriting in like 30 seconds. Not even that, like 5 seconds. It does take a little bit of extra time. Could I buy Post-it notes that say, check this out? 100%. But we are finding that the more stuff that we do that does not scale, that does not easily lend itself to AI and automation, we continue to move ourselves in a different league and in a different pact. Look at all the things that you're currently doing. What are all the things that your competition can potentially not touch you with a 10-foot pole on that you could continue doing that no one else can or is willing to do? Everyone is always looking for that easy button. Let's make a list of the Dream 100, put them into an email sequence, and just try and warm them up. We've tried that at least 150 plus times in different industries and different niches with dismal failure. Unless we're doing the personalization on all those emails, unless we're going and getting them to know, like, and trust us by commenting on their social media, by putting helpful articles in the mail or email, by getting the gift over to them, it doesn't convert. Doesn't convert. So my pushback and my challenge and the area that I really want you to think about today is, are there some areas in your business that you have gotten sloppy with, that you have pushed yourself to try and just automate it and kind of moved yourself away from what I would call like the good old fashioned values, like doing things like they used to do, better service, more personalized service? I'm seeing article after article, study after study that is showing that that's what customers want right now. They don't want to be seen as a number. They don't want to be seen as this tiny fish in a gigantic pond. They want to feel special. They want to feel unique. So you have this opportunity within your marketing to hyper-personalize and continue to do things that will not scale. Make a list of all the things that you can do. The personalized gifts, the one-off emails on a regular basis, the curating helpful articles, producing podcast stuff, doing free websites for them, free marketing help. What are all those things that you can do to keep lending that hand? Now, my final piece to you and my final takeaway is a quick reminder to play the long game. Play the long game. There are several business relationships that I have going on right now that I have made zero from. And I would tell you that right now, if you were, well, Michael, how much have you made? I would tell you negative, at least one of the relationships, probably negative $25,000 to $50,000, maybe more. That's not sending $50,000 worth of gifts. That's putting in time, buying certain things to help, and I'm playing that long game. People are getting more and more and more impatient to skip those steps. And I've told you that when you skip the steps, the Dream 100 doesn't work. Do stuff that doesn't scale, play the long game, because I promise you that hitting those singles day in and day out will serve you far better than everything else. Play the long game, hit those singles, do stuff that doesn't scale. Michael Tasner signing off. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night. I'll see you next week.